Hello and welcome to the Mendez Law channel. My name is Judith Mendez. I am a Canadian immigration lawyer licensed by the Law Society of Ontario. Choosing between inland and outland sponsorship applications for your spouse or common law partner may affect your work or your travel goals. Today I will explain the differences between an inland application and an outland application, what IRCC expects from these applications, how to prepare better your application, mistakes to avoid, and at the end I'm going to help you try to decide, depending on your goals, which stream is the best for you. Now I will give you the definitions of an inland sponsorship versus an outland sponsorship. For an inland sponsorship, the principal applicant must cohabitate with you throughout the entire process. And one of the good things about the inland sponsorship is that your partner can apply for an open work permit once you receive the acknowledgement of receipt. Also, another thing that you can think about with an inland sponsorship is that short trips outside of Canada may risk re-entry, and if you're no longer cohabitating with your spouse, then you may need to apply for an outland application. Now we will talk about the definition of an outland sponsorship. And an outland sponsorship, not necessarily you need to be living together. So your sponsored person can be living outside or can be coming back to Canada as a visitor. And this application normally is processed for a visa in a visa office outside of Canada. This simple system to gather all your proof and evidence efficiently. So first, start gathering all the timeline or key dates on your relationship. So for example, when did you move in, marriage, engagements, things like that, trips, milestones. Second, you can organize all your documents by category. So for example, you can have one folder for housing where you're going to put all your joint bank accounts, joint leases, mail. Also another folder could be only finances, if you have any assets together. And another folder for life events, which is just pictures across the relationship of all your over the years. Now, again, I want to emphasize that under current public policy, there is work options if you are applying for inland, and you can prepare your open work permit and submit it after you received your acknowledgement of receipt. So you can have another folder where you're gathering all the documents that you will need once you're ready to apply for your open work permit. Also, if you have received your acknowledgement of receipt and your partner or spouse is outside of Canada, they may want to apply for a visitor visa, and you can have another folder that gathers all the proof and evidence when you're ready to submit for your visitor visa. Normally, it's wise to apply after you have received your acknowledgement of receipt for the sponsorship application. Now, also another thing that you can search is that your partner or spouse may need a police certificate. So maybe there are certain countries that it might take longer than in other countries. So just make sure that you have also that in place what you have done, and another folder that talks about only the police certificate. Now, for either streams, IRCC is looking for almost the same things. For example, that the relationship is genuine, providing proof and evidence of that relationship, as, for example, marriage certificate, joint bank accounts, pictures over time of your relationship. Also, they look at the sponsor's eligibility. For example, that they are Canadian citizens or permanent residents, that they are over 18 years old, and that they're not receiving social assistance other than for disability. Now, if you're a PR or a permanent resident and you want to sponsor your partner, you need to be living in Canada. If you are a Canadian citizen, then that you're living, for example, abroad, and you want to sponsor your spouse or partner, you can. However, you need to show clear evidence that your intention is to come back to Canada and live in Canada after your partner or spouse receives their permanent residence. Also, as the sponsored person or the person that's going to sponsor their spouse and partner, they also need to sign a 3-year undertaking that will show Immigration Canada that you're willing to support your partner or spouse for 3 years after they receive their permanent residence. And from the side of the principal applicant or the person being sponsored, the person that's not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, they will need to go under medical examination, biometrics, and also provide police certificate. And remember, for inland sponsorship applications, there has to be ongoing cohabitation while the process is still, they're still working on your application. Thank you for tuning in this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the end of part 1 of our video. In part 2, which will be released next week, we will guide you through the mistakes people often make, how to choose the right path, and we will answer some of the most common questions we usually get. Stay tuned for the continuation. Thank you for watching. Please remember, this information is for general use only. For specific advice on your situation, contact us at MendezLaw.ca or email us at info@MendezLaw.ca. Have a wonderful week ahead. Bye for now.